Are officially live. What is today? Monday. Happy Monday, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. And it is Jerry Green here with the RDI Sales Academy. And I also have Carly. Say hey, Carly.
Hello.
So, Carly here is actually on my sales team. So guys, we'll give it just a minute here as everybody kind of gets a chance to jump on here today. So what we want to do is we're going to talk about how to renegotiate deals that require big discounts. And do me a favor, guys, as you guys are jumping on here today, if you guys wouldn't mind just dropping in the comments and just say, hey, make sure to give us a like, guys, or a thumbs up. Give us a little love here. Also, if you get a chance to just drop in also in the comments where you're coming in from, guys. Okay. Um, so if you guys could do that, that would be awesome. Just drop in what city you're coming in from, what state you're coming in from, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you can just do that. And again, give us a little bit of love as you come on here. Give us a thumbs up and say hey to Carly and Jerry. So guys, as we really get rolling here in just a minute, a couple things I want to share with you is that I think one of the big things a lot of real estate entrepreneurs run into is they run into the situation where they're dealing with the seller. They put a deal under contract, and unfortunately, sellers, some of them are just plain dishonest, right?
Right. They lie.
Other ones just don't know.
They
just
haven't
don't
been
know.
there. They
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
They don't know.
They don't know. They're just really they don't understand. They don't know what's going on. They don't know about their property. Maybe they're an out of town owner. They just don't understand it whatsoever at all. What's going on? But other ones, obviously, as you guys know, really do know the property. But in their mind, it might need. They're thinking 10,000. In the reality, it might need 40,000 in rehab.
Yep.
Okay. So just a lot of different scenarios based upon those individual situations. So let's, as we look at this, I want you guys to understand there's ways you can approach this in a way where you don't want to upset your sellers. Okay. So let's think about this a little bit. So the reason I brought Carly on today, and again, Carly is part of our sales team. So if you guys all get a chance, you can drop in the chat there if you got a chance to say hi to Carly. And also, again, if you guys are coming on, please drop in too in the comments where you're coming in from, or at least give us some love, some thumbs up there, or something like that, so we know that you're out there and you're enjoying the content. But so with Carly being on the sales team, obviously she deals with this all the time, guys, where she's running into people that are in the position where they are maybe having problems dealing with renegotiating deals. So, and when they try to go in and renegotiate deals, I think a lot of people kind of get flustered and they go in a position where
It's got to be Robbie.
Robbie. So what happens on that? They go into the position where they get flustered, and next thing they know, they just, I think it's a lot of times fear.
Yep.
On that side of things, and it's really what it comes down to. You have to understand to really succeed on a high level at this business, especially when it comes to the renegotiation side. You have to be able to connect with those people, and you've got to understand their situations, but you got to be very empathetic about things too. Yep. Right?
And you have to be tactically empathetic.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. Hey, Anthony, what's up? Thanks for jumping on. What I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about things here, Carly, if we can, of a deal you just finished renegotiating.
Yeah.
Here, right? So let's talk about this. And first of all, understanding that when you originally got this property in, we were in a position where One, we thought maybe the renovations weren't that came out at the end after inspection really didn't need to be done, right? That was our original thoughts.
Right.
Because what did the seller tell you in regards to the condition of the property?
So they renovated when they bought it for their daughter. Daughter lived there. They moved in a tenant. So she thought the tenants were caring for the property, that everything was still in the condition that it was when they moved in. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it wasn't.
So, in fact, there was quite a bit of difference, wasn't it?
A lot. A lot.
So, and we get that a lot, don't
Yeah.
we?
And
yeah.
she just didn't know. She
Yeah.
didn't want to be a landlord, didn't go see it, didn't care, and now she's stuck.
So on that particular deal, Carly, what's interesting on that one was this is a situation where the seller was actually honest about things, you feel, right?
Yeah, she tried to be as honest as she could be. Again, she hadn't seen it, but she said, hey, I know these things need done, but I done this, that, and this should be okay.
Yeah. And another thing I found too, and you have too, by doing this for a good while, is understanding that look, sellers in their mind, a lot of times they think is a property that is market ready, that is rehabbed, is completely different from what our thinking is, right? From our perspective.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Because I a lot of times I think of it this way. They think of it and maybe a blue light Kmart special, and they think that's good enough. And we know that in the real world, that's not going to fly,
the
right?
Walmart special.
Yes.
We get those too.
Yep. So I think we got to really look at that when it comes to these things, because it's easy to get in a position where, seller's thinking one thing, you're thinking something else, right? And when you do that, that's obviously there's a big gap there on things, right? So, okay. So we know that's kind of what happened on this particular deal. That she thought it was in good condition. She did put a lot of money into it, right? She put new furnace in. Yeah, I think you told me
all new windows. They updated the kitchen. They had done a lot of work in the bathrooms, and it wasn't there anymore.
Okay. So now let's just talk about this a little bit on the process. So on our side of things, we do most of our deals virtually, right?
Right.
So we go ahead and we try to take as much as we can from what the seller's telling us to go off of that. So we were able to, one, control the deal based upon those numbers, right? So we done that based upon those numbers and based upon what market values we look at. So then once we controlled that deal, what happens is then we dispatch out one of our inspectors.
Right.
So inspector went to the property, came back, done our reports that we have, validated things with photos and all that. And those photos came back and the report came back. And what did that tell us?
That the property stunk, but it told us, that it definitely wasn't in the condition that we thought it was, and it was going to need a lot more work than we originally intended.
Okay. So in fact, there was a lot more work than originally intended, right?
Went from 20,000 to 50,000.
Yeah. So we jumped up tremendously when it comes to that side of things. And guys, most of you on here know that's pretty common that you see that a lot. Is a lot of times the rehab costs will come back a lot higher than what the seller told you on things. I think the important thing that we need to, first of all, let people know on here that are going to look at trying to renegotiate something is it really starts off originally in your first call when you're actually going in to work and sign the deal with them, right?
Right.
So it's really setting that up, right?
Yeah.
And what's some of the things that you do to help set that up, Carly, that so they can kind of expect something coming down the road?
Absolutely. So you let them know that, due to market changes, there may be the possibility that we'd have to come back in with different numbers. You let them know that, hey, since you haven't seen the property in a while, just know that if we go in and it's not what we're expecting and what you're expecting, we would also have to look at some different numbers in that case as well. You really just lay it out there for them that there's always this possibility due to circumstances, market changes, renovation costs, that there's a possibility that, they're going to have to come down.
Okay. So you're preparing them for that before we even really go under contract on things.
Right.
Okay. So now we're in a position where we go under contract. Like I said, we have the inspection done. That comes back. And then we go through that period of time where in our business, what happens is that comes back into our sales system. Okay. And then we do something, what we call a deal review. And that deal review is done with Carly and the other salespeople, including our COO as well. Okay. And they review that and they determine from that, those pictures, the report and so forth, where they can go. And on this particular deal, we realized there was a lot more renovations need to be done, right?
An awful lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and, without going over the exact numbers on things, we want to be have some privacy for the seller and so forth. But with that said, we had to do a pretty substantial, I should say you did, renegotiations on this property. So let's talk about, first of all, how much of a renegotiation did you have to do? That's number one.
Yep.
Then let's talk about, and let all our viewers know, how did you go about positioning that with the seller so we don't upset them and make them not okay? Yep. So first of all, those numbers, how big of a discount did you have to go in for?
It was a little over $42,000.
Okay. So we actually, should say you went in and renegotiated the deal over $40,000.
Yep.
Okay. And that is discounted price.
Right.
So that's just the discount portion of things. So she was able to renegotiate that property down over $40,000. Okay. So if you renegotiated that side of things, how do you even go about doing that, Carly?
So it really starts with your first call. It's building that rapport and making sure that you have that connection with your seller and that they were aware in the beginning that this is a possibility. They feel a little less blindsided when you do have to come back. And then when I did speak with her, for me, it was the tactical empathy. I let her know that, hey, I'm really sorry to have to be the one to tell you this. What the tenants did to you was just, it wasn't right. They haven't been taking care of the property the way they should have. We let her know that we've seen the love and everything that she put into the property when they originally renovated it, to kind of let her know that we knew she cared and she really tried. But then we also brought her, this is what they had done, and this is what they had broken, and this is what it's going to cost for you to fix it, not for us to fix it. If you were going to go and fix it, it would cost you this. And then you just continue with your tactical empathies of, I'm really sorry. I can't believe they did this to you. And then you kind of, well, what do you want us to do?
Oh, so the big question, and you just look at it, and where one, you lay out what she can do, right?
Yep.
And then also what we can do.
Right.
And then they have to choose a path that they want to go on.
Right.
Okay. And so with her on that side of things, kind of her situation is she didn't want to deal with this, right?
Right. So her concern was, when I asked her, what do you want us to do? She said, does that mean you're not going to help me? You can't help me? Is it too much? And I said, I talked to the team. I let them know your story. Jerry here specializes in that area when he was a young man over here. And we really feel
was a young man.
Definitely was.
Okay.
That, we really feel for your situation. And typically this isn't something we would do. Due to everything that was going on with the property and all the work that we needed, it's not something we would do. But because, we do care about you, when we really want to help you, this is where we need it to be.
And you got to be sincere with that, don't you?
Correct.
Because if not, people see through that. And so guys, when you're talking to a seller, just be truthful with them. Don't come in and give them a bunch of BS and stuff like that. Just come in and tell them like it is, and look, obviously you're in the position where you're not there to be their friend. But you've also got to focus on make sure you're there to help them, right?
And that's what it is. You have to go in really, wanting to help them. If you're not, a lot of times they'll see through it. You have to have that connect.
Yeah, that's a good point. And this all comes, and think about this. So when you position the renegotiations on that side of things, let me just ask you that. So when you get to that moment,
Mhm.
When you're ready to reposition and ask somebody to discount something
Well,
by 30, 40, $50,000, how do you even position that?
I mean, again, like I said, I went through what it would cost for her to do it.
Oh,
Not for
okay.
us to do it, but I
Okay.
let her know, you're looking 50, $60,000 in different miscellaneous costs and likely 5 or 6 months of your time. And, really made her realize what all would have to go into it for her so that she had that motivation to not want to do it for herself. So then I asked, I said, well, what would you like us to do? How do you want us to move forward to help you? And then, when she said, well, I have to let this go. I can't do this. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the ability. That's when you give them the honest truth of where you can be and what you would have to do to help them.
Love it. So it's really, if we're looking at that, and this all comes down to all the work you do prior to this, guys. I want to make sure you understand this. So Carly worked heavy on the motivation. She built the rapport, built the relationship with the seller, understood the motivation, went deep onto that, and also worked heavily on painting that picture perfect scenario where she wanted to be once this is done, right?
Yep. She was ready to be retired. She didn't want to have to stay up at night worrying about it. She was just she needed to let it go.
So as you paint that out on things and paint that picture, right, then she can start seeing where she wants to go. And then what happens on that is, this was kind of from my video I done yesterday, is now we're starting to create that gap, right? And then when we renegotiate, how important is that gap now more than ever?
Oh, it's huge. And letting them know that this is now a liability to you. It's no longer an asset. And a lot of people, when they get that, that gap continues to grow for them.
Wow, this is what you just said there, Carly, is huge. And I don't know if some of you got this or not, but understanding sometimes what happens is a property switches from an asset to a liability for a seller. And it's okay to tell them that. It's okay to tell them that. And when you do that, guys, you'll be surprised sometimes where they'll go in and say, "Oh, wow, wait a minute, you're right. This is more a liability to me than an asset." And you just show them the path. I mean, it's just that simple when it comes to that side of things. Now, obviously, this takes work. It takes practice on this side of things, guys. But it all comes down to, if you're not doing the work in the front, again, renegotiating, building the rapport, going deep on the motivation, creating that gap, looking at painting that picture perfect scenario where they want to be when this is all done. When you have to come back and try to renegotiate, that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 that you have to do, you'll never be able to achieve that if you didn't do the work prior to that.
And it's always just being honest with them. Doing it virtually, we don't always know what we're going into. So we always want to make sure that they know if we walk into something that we weren't expecting, they weren't expecting, that this is the reality of how the situation would have to go forward.
Okay. And what's maybe some of the tactical things that we use when renegotiating, such as do we show them anything?
Yep. So I did a walkthrough with the seller at the time of the photos. I braced her because
all virtually, right?
All virtually. I braced her that this isn't what you're going to expect, and it's likely to be very painful with you. And we went photo through photo, and while still being tactfully empathetic, we talked about how they had ripped her brand new cabinets off the walls and how there was 4 inches of grime on the floors, and really pushed those pain points for her and heightened her motivation while showing her the reality.
Okay. So so that comes down to this, is people understand that. See, and I've always preached this, is that pictures are so powerful, because a lot of your sellers, like you said, they haven't been there maybe in years. They could be out of state, whatever the situation is. And they look at it as the condition they saw it in when they originally maybe rented the property, whatever it is. But now they're in the position where they have no idea of the current condition, and they've never been back in the property for many years. So now what you're doing is you're making them aware of their environment that they have to deal with. And I think sometimes, guys, that that is something I've learned that is extremely powerful, is when you do that, it just opens up things and the seller really starts to see what they're really dealing with. Because I think it's a lot of times people are stuck in the vision of what it looked like several years ago,
Yep.
and they're not looking at what the current condition it is. And sometimes when you don't come in with like photos and things to back this up, what they do is people just get in the position where they a lot of times they might not believe you on
Right.
things,
Especially
right?
when you do it all virtually.
Yeah.
They don't know you. They haven't met you. They're not going to give their property to you.
Right. So you've got to come in and you show this. It's like I always say, like, if you're an attorney that's going in and you're trying to win a case, but you don't have the evidence. Well, you have the evidence here.
Yeah.
You prove this, you show them the case, and we're not going in and slamming them or anything like that, but we're just showing them the truth. We're telling them the truth. And then that's where it gets real. And that's where you can go in and look at a situation. You can actually renegotiate a deal like Carly did by over $40,000. That's how you do that. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting things all the time. So if you would summarize this, Carly, where if you said, okay, for someone here as one of our viewers here, whether watching now or later, and you would bullet point it and say maybe the top 3 or 4 things that they need to do to renegotiate their deals and get the biggest discounts, what would number 1 be?
Laying the groundwork beforehand.
Okay, so laying the groundwork before you even start to put the contract together originally.
Correct.
Okay, what do you think number 2 is?
Your tactical empathy. It's for
Okay.
something like this because it is a big decision.
Yeah, it's a big decision. Okay, tactical empathy.
Yep.
So it's being very empathetic about
Yep.
their situation, right?
Yep.
Because it is a big deal. It's very emotional. It's a big, when you're discounting that much, you've got to understand and you've got to come from that point. That is a big hit. Okay.
Yep.
What else do you think?
Building the bridge, the gap. The
Okay,
bigger the gap, the better.
So number 3, building the bridge. And what she means by that is where the seller is currently right now and where they want to be. And the only way you build that bridge is through what? You go through
Yep.
motivation, right?
Yep.
And you have to ask really questions, don't you?
Yep. Lots of questions.
Okay. And we understand what questions we know that have the most effect on that. The types of questions.
Your impact questions, your picture perfects.
And those are really going to take them
Yep.
to that next level, right?
Correct.
Because we understand the problem, but now we're doing picture perfect and impact type questions.
Yep.
Okay. And what do you think a 4th item would be?
Being honest.
Being honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be honest with your seller. Don't try to fudge things. Just tell them like it is, right? And if you tell them like it is, people are going to appreciate that. And I think that's a big thing. And then I always look at too, maybe a number 5 here is it's okay if they don't want to do it.
Right.
Always moving towards a no, right?
Right.
And
Always.
just to say, you know what, it's okay. If this doesn't work, not a problem. At least we gave it our best shot here.
Right.
And just call it what it is, a no. And you'll be surprised a lot of times, guys, when you call a deal like that a no, the seller will all of a sudden push back, just like she did in their situation there. Like, what am I going to do? How are you guys going to be able to help me, right? Yeah. And by doing that, they came back and they wanted to work with Carly. They wanted to put the deal together with her, probably more than what Carly wanted in the way of putting the deal together herself.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. So, all right, cool. So let me ask you this, Carly, as we go through this here, and we have several people that are on here and just viewing this, what do you think as a acquisitions person, what's one of the most important things you can do that is consistent when it comes to this? What's one of the most important things you can be doing?
Oh Lord.
I mean, what I'm saying is preparing yourself to renegotiate deals like this. What do you need to do? If anybody of our viewers and they say, man, I want to get better renegotiating deals and not so I don't have sellers all pissed off at me and things like that. What would you tell them that they need to do? What's something they need to work on?
Spend the day with Jerry for one.
Okay.
It's definitely, Lord, renegotiations are easy and they're hard all at the same time. I would understand your sellers, your numbers, like really, really work so that when you're renegotiating, you don't sound like you don't know what you're talking about.
So confidence.
Yeah, your confidence is a big deal. If
Okay.
you don't go in confident, they don't see it in you. They don't want to really work with you, and they don't really believe what you're saying.
That's dead on there on that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So guys, as we're just got a few more minutes here, but I want to ask, you guys have any questions? Jason, thanks for coming on. Let's see. I appreciate the Anthony. Yep. Any questions you guys have here? While we have myself on or Carly, we can answer a few questions if you guys have any here. We got a few more minutes that we're going to be live here. And if you want to jump in and say anything, you're more than welcome on that side. Glad to help you out. Guys, while you're thinking about that, if you have any questions or anything, one thing I want to share with you guys is note this down, is tomorrow morning we are actually launching our next REI Sales Academy boot camp, a flash sale. Okay, and this flash sale is coming up actually tomorrow morning. Starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be going for 4 days. You can just look and you can see some of you that are in our email list. That's great. Some of you are not. You can reach out to me on things. We're glad to send you a link. But you will save money by doing this. You'll get a nice discount on things. Plus, there's several bonuses. And this boot camp is going to be held in actually Dallas, Texas, April 12th, 13th, and 14th. We're doing 2 days with just the sales training, and the third day, what we call our owner and managers day. And that's focusing on about really systems, operations for building and scaling your business, hiring salespeople, how to onboard them, how to pay them, all these type of things. So guys, if that's something you're interested in and you're not on our email list, or you can watch posts that'll go out tomorrow too, you can just hit me up here through social media. I'll be glad to share with you guys the link here on things. So if I don't see any questions right now that anybody has, so any final words you would like to say, Carly?
I got to put deals together here.
She has to put deals here. I got to put her back to work.
I got to go back to work.
It's actually supposed to have a seller coming in here to the office and sign, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. Well, listen, guys. Let's see. It says, can you go into qualifying process when speaking with sellers? Can you share a little bit on that? When it comes to qualifying, how do you go about doing that? Qualifying a seller.
That's a whole long process. No, it's definitely, figuring out all your needed information, knowing your ARVs and everything, and then going into your qualifications. It's really hitting your questions. It's building your bridge. It's getting your numbers together, and it's building that rapport.
Okay. So if we look at this, Anthony, it really comes down to, if you think about it, 4 main areas we're looking at. Mm-hmm. Okay. One is to understand that we have to, what we call, set the stage. We open up the conversation, right, for open and honest communication.
Right.
Number 2, what we do is we go in and we start building that relationship or rapport. Mm-hmm. But what we're doing is going in deep on motivation, and we're creating urgency by understanding that motivation. And then number 3, and I'm summarizing this kind of the 30,000-foot view for you. Number 3, yeah, we're going in, and what we're doing there on number 3 is we're going in to start eliminating objections.
Your deal killers.
Our deal killers. Yep. Before we close, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then number 4, once we do all this, we bring this all together, kind of bring it to the end of the assembly line, and we close from there. And if we do it right, the closing process is very simple. If we do it wrong, it is very tough to close someone because you didn't do all the work prior to that. So I just want to make sure you understand that, Anthony, on things. So, all right, cool, guys. Listen, guys, we appreciate you all being on. Again, don't forget, tomorrow, guys, we start our flash sale for our next REI Sales Academy boot camp at 9 a.m. It'll be going for 4 days. You can follow any of our information regarding our emails from the Sales Academy, or you can turn around and just hit me up the social media. You guys save money there. You get a couple extra bonuses. anything I can do to help you out, guys, I appreciate it. Again, happy Monday, and we'll talk to y'all soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.